What is the difference of a high pressure liquefied carbon dioxide pipeline versus a natural gas pipeline versus a water pipeline versus a petroleum pipeline? We've heard a lot about those, but the difference is the danger that exists with the CO2 pipeline. So when I was at the Capitol and we were having hearings on these CO2 pipelines, there was a representative of PHMSA, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Agency. That's PHMSA. So she was there telling us about how safe these pipelines were, and she said there were actually we have no record of any hospitalizations or deaths from any rupture. But we know that this is not true. We know that in Satartia, this pipeline was a mile from the city, a mile. And over 40 people were hospitalized. And I even met some of those who had ongoing health issues from their exposure to this carbon dioxide. So that it was amazing that they misrepresented. We also know that there have been injuries where they use the liquefied carbon dioxide for fracking. We know that there have been injuries on job sites, but those are reported not as from carbon dioxide pipelines, but just, industrial injuries. So my husband and I started looking into it. Our farm was in the 2-mile, they give a 2-mile strip so that they can move it as they test the terrain and all. So we were within that. And we heard about the potential for eminent domain. Eminent domain for a private company's profit, that struck me immediately as this is unconstitutional. So they were saying that they were looking for voluntary easements, but then people started coming forward about how they were being threatened and the tactics that the companies were using. I heard from people down in the southern part of the county that they would come through and they would say, well, you'll either give us the easement now or we'll be able to take it later. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars now, but if we go through eminent domain, you'll be lucky to get 10 cents on the dollar. They used some of those tactics. That was Navigator, and there were some bad players involved. Navigator stepped out. Wolf, as far as I understand, Wolf has not done it. But they're sitting back, as I said, they're watching to see what happens in Western Iowa with Summit. And Summit has been very aggressive. And their whole approach has been to intimidate people. But what struck me is this is a trunk line. All kinds of manufacturing processes produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct of heat or their equipment. And that means if they were granted eminent domain, look around the industrial areas where they could put pipelines right through neighborhoods to get to the trunk line. One of the problems with this is once an easement is let, they can sell that easement to anyone. So as I said early on, Navigator was very forthcoming, but Summit has not been. Navigator told us that they could sell the pipeline, that there are no guarantees. So you get these guarantees from the company coming into it. Oh, we promise we'll do this, we promise we'll do that, but there's no guarantee that 2 years down the road they still are going to be the owners. So I've gone to lots of meetings as a legislator representing my district. Several things struck me as potential problems. Number one, the amount of water that it takes when you are making liquefied carbon dioxide. It uses a tremendous amount of water. The ethanol plants already use a tremendous amount of water. Now on top of that, you're going to be using a lot of water in compressing the making liquefied CO2. Now we come to energy. It takes a tremendous amount. So I asked these questions, and the gentleman from Wolf says, yes, it does. It does take a lot of energy, but Alliant and the city have guaranteed us that they will have plenty of energy and plenty of water. Once they put this plant in, they get first dibs on our water and our electricity because they can't shut this down when they're in the middle of the process. It's very dangerous to shut it down. And Navigator was very forthcoming. I asked the question in the public hearing, without our tax dollars, would you be pursuing this? And they said, absolutely not. There is no incentive other than the tax funding. So it's our tax dollars that they are depending on. It's their business plan. Wolf Pipeline Company, they are from Canada. Their main investor is the Canadian Retirement Fund, and it has a different name, but it's basically their Social Security. So they are investing. Their money is put in because they know the guarantee return on their investment is from our tax dollars. This is your money, my money, and it's guaranteeing the Canadian Retirement Fund. So there again, we have our tax dollars assuring someone else that they're going to have a return while U.S. taxpayers are suffering under this. So we have multiple things. We have our energy, our water. We just came out of 4 years of drought. So energy and water. But then we have the kill zone around CO2. This is not a regular pipeline like people think of. 2,200 psi of liquefied carbon dioxide is going through that pipeline. If it splits, it just doesn't get a hole in it. It ruptures a hole, it goes down the pipeline. Liquefied carbon dioxide is heavier than air. So as it comes out of this pipeline at 2,200 psi, it's going to go up and then it's going to go down. And it's going to go down to the low-lying areas and it's going to push all of the oxygen out. You can't drive a vehicle, you can't breathe. No animals, birds, people are going to survive in the kill zone around this pipeline. Well, they assure us that the safety is there, but we know that there have been multiple ruptures. We know that Satartia had one. We know there was another one just recently. We know that in the areas where they do fracking, this is something that they are aware of because everybody has their emergency equipment with them because it's a tool that they use in fracking. They talk about the safety. They're going to train the emergency management systems. If there's a pipeline rupture out there, you know, a half a mile from my house, and I call somebody, there's a problem, we're out in the rural area, and it may take 20 minutes. You don't have 20 minutes when the carbon dioxide is pushing all the oxygen out. And you can't even get in your car and drive away from it because your car doesn't run if there's no oxygen. Even the whole process of educating people that are in the area, what are the dangers and what do you have to consider? We live 1 mile from the nuclear power plant, straight east. When we moved in here, people were all concerned about, you're so close to the nuclear power plant. Well, we have warning systems. We have, every year, we were given the evacuation. If there was a problem, if there was a leak, you can get away from a nuclear leak. There are medications you can take if you've been exposed to nuclear radiation. The first Wednesday of every month, there's a warning system that goes on, and that's for a nuclear power plant. The pipeline people have said that the warnings would be way too expensive for them to implement along the pipeline. That providing they're willing to provide training. We asked them to provide training and equipment. They said, oh, well, we can provide equipment, but they're unwilling to give us what they call the plume data. All right, if there's a rupture, where is that CO2 going to go? You have to look at the terrain and where are the most likely places that it would settle to be the most dangerous. They said it is, number one, oh, well, if we give you the plume data, that could be good for a terrorist attack. You know, we don't want it, it's proprietary information. Well, wait a minute. Once you put that pipeline in, all you got to do is look at a Google map to see where the pipeline is, because it shows you where the vegetation doesn't grow the same. Right. So they've given us all these very weak excuses, but the fact that they say the safety is too expensive to provide to the citizens that would be living near the pipeline, that just blows your mind. We talk about carbon sequestration and how it's going to benefit the farmers. People that are buying into this forget that carbon dioxide is actually what plants use They absorb carbon dioxide, they create oxygen through photosynthesis. It's a process that is natural. Our forests, our cornfields, all of our greenery generates oxygen as it absorbs carbon dioxide. That's natural sequestration of carbon dioxide. And as our carbon dioxide has gone up just in minuscule amounts, we are more green. Our forests are healthier. Carbon dioxide is a natural fertilizer for plants. If you suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, you're going to have to dump more fertilizer on the plants to get the same production. The only thing that is driving this whole process is the tax credits, taking our tax dollars and lining the pockets of the investors. It is not enhancing Iowa's economy because it's going to a very few people. It is not going to help the people in the rural communities because it's going to take farm ground out of production, which means the communities, the people who make farm equipment, the people who sell to farmers, all of these things are going to disappear. The Iowa Utilities Commission did rule, and I believe it was in June 24th or 25th, that they would allow eminent domain to be used, and they went through a whole series. They completely ignored our expert witnesses about the dangers, about the damage to property, about any of the considerations. Wow. So yeah, so they have ruled in favor of Summit. So there are, I believe at last count, there are 29 legislators who have signed on as interveners to request a reconsideration based on facts, based on scientific expert witnesses. And we don't know what the IUBs or IUC is going to do at this point. And we are fighting back. Here in Iowa, we are looking at, and in other Midwestern states, we're looking at defending our citizens, to protect our citizens in Iowa or in South Dakota, in North Dakota, from serious federal government overreach, from constitutional violations. I mean, this taking private property for private benefit, for private profit, is completely against the Constitution. Those of us that live on farms understand the impact of a pipeline going through your property, about the reduction of crop growth wherever they dig the pipeline and all that. But our urban neighbors need to understand the danger that exists if this eminent domain is allowed to happen. All of the industry that is in town and the dollars that these industries can get from sequestering their carbon dioxide into that main trunk line is terrifying, because that would put these very dangerous lines through communities. And that's, our urban neighbors need to understand, this is not a rural problem. This is not a farm problem. This is a significant problem for everybody.